Authorities finding Daveonte Dixon with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head as he barricaded inside a Southside apartment complex Friday evening. Authorities confirming he did have help hiding from police. The 48-hour manhunt for Daveonte Dixon ending at a Thelma Drive apartment Friday evening. Dixon inside the apartment with a woman by the name of Jayla Call and 3 children. The 21-year-old is accused of shooting 2 Mifflin Township police officers during a traffic stop on the city's northeast side last Wednesday. Franklin County Sheriff's Office, SWAT, SIU, and U.S. Marshals searching several homes late last week before finding Dixon on Thelma Drive.
Unfortunately, Mr. Dixon started firing shots at our officers, at least 3 to 5. That's all being determined right now through ballistics.
Authorities not shooting back, knowing there were children involved.
Not the subsequent search warrants, not even at the apprehension site. And to me, that's amazing that not one shot was fired by law enforcement. It shows the restraint and the training that we go through to protect the community.
Dixon was eventually alone in the home where he shot himself. Authorities were able to detain him, where he is still in the hospital Monday. A difficult few weeks for Mifflin Township's police force. Just last year, an officer was stabbed several times. Surrounding departments offering much more than mutual aid during this time.
It's tough to be a member of our agency right now. It's tough to be a member of any law enforcement agency. I mean, like I said, we are all one big family. So when something happens to one, it happens to all. So everyone is struggling, but my remaining officers are positive.
One officer is still in the hospital but is expected to survive. Dixon faces attempted murder and felonious assault charges, with additional charges likely. On your side, Aaron Simonek, ABC6 News.
Now, the woman charged with helping Dixon hide from police was in court this morning. You see her here behind me. Bond for Jayla Call was set at $250,000. She's charged with obstruction and tampering. According to the court record, she told detectives she knew Dixon was a fugitive and that he was at her home for several hours before officers arrived. She also admitted to deleting text messages that were between Daveonte and his girlfriend.
Since the officers were shot on Wednesday night, there was a collaborative effort to find Dixon. The Franklin County Sheriff's Office says it worked with the U.S. Marshals Service, Mifflin Township Police, Columbus Police, the State BCI, and the Ohio State Highway Patrol. The Marshals Service says it is these types of incidents that really bring them together.
Unfortunately, we have been tested several times in the last few months with the continued acts of violence against officers and our community. Each time, our relationships, collaboration, and sharing of resources and information enable us to work through these extremely volatile situations.
Police also say the community really helped crack this case. They say they were flooded with tips, a lot of those coming after a $40,000 reward was offered for information on where Dixon was hiding.
Central Ohio Crime Stoppers, they were outstanding. The FOP said we're going to put up some money. Crime Stoppers said we're going to match that. The FBI said we're going to throw up some money. The amount of tips and calls I've received personally to the FOP is overwhelming. Community members saying, hey, I want to help any way I can. What can I do? Can I bring the officer's family food? This community overwhelmingly supports their police.
And while he is expected to survive, police heavily stressing that Daveonte Dixon should have been locked up and not on the streets.
Investigator Lisa Rontola has been breaking down Dixon's criminal history for days now. And Lisa, he was convicted on violent gun crimes just last year, but was given probation in that case.
That's right, Rodney. Jessica, today law enforcement responded to my ongoing reporting of Daveonte Dixon's sentencing from last year. He was convicted of breaking into his ex-girlfriend's home, threatening her with guns and having a Glock switch. A judge sentenced him to probation when this crime had the presumption of prison, according to law.
Nothing happens to these judges. They just say, oops, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. And they go on to the next case.
Sheriff and police union all agreed in saying the previous sentencing of Daveonte Dixon was a failure by the Franklin County court system. Dixon could have faced up to 16 years in prison for his gun convictions and threats of gun violence made to his ex-girlfriend. Instead, he served 6 months in a residential prison diversion program and was required to report to his probation officer for the next 2.5 years after that. Both the defense defense and prosecuting attorneys agreed to that sentencing. And last week, I showed you this statement sent to me by the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office. In part, it reads the defendant was young, from an impoverished area, and had very few prior offenses. Law enforcement responded to this very statement today.
Besides that, we're going to look into how old he was, 21, and that he was from an impoverished community. I do not know what that means. The majority of this violent offenders' victims were from impoverished communities.
I contacted the prosecutor's office again today to ask if the victim also agreed to that sentencing of probation last year. I was told the victim was okay with any decision the prosecutor made. She just wanted Dixon to stay away from her. Another big point here, one of Dixon's convictions last year was having a Glock switch that can convert a gun into an automatic weapon. In federal court, the possession of a Glock switch could lead to a 10-year prison sentence alone. On your side, I'm investigator Lisa Rontola.